As Ethiopian government imposed new restrictions on Tigray, other restrictions specific to Tigray or to other regions too. Welcome to my views and news. Thanks for watching the channel. Two news stories. First one is about some new restrictions imposed on. Main story is about the new restrictions imposed on Tigray by the Ethiopian government. Tigray Addis Ababa elections still tense. No signs of de-escalation. Tigray Asmara relations warm, getting better with every passing day. Tigray Addis Ababa relations getting more tense over Volkite. Federal government intervening to stop a likely conflict in Volkite. This is what we all know, I think. Now, Tigrayan officials are claiming that new restrictions have been imposed on Tigray. A few days ago, if you remember, federal government blocked and stopped the movement of goods transport vehicles towards Tigray. Checkpoints were set up in Amhara and in Afar regions, and trucks were stopped there. Then Tedase, where they talked to Ethiopian Federal Police Chief, and the issue was solved. Trucks were allowed to come to Tigray, but that move was linked to growing Tigray-Eritrea coordination. Bilateral trade is also ongoing, reportedly. Limited trade in border areas. Now, Tigrayan officials are saying that fuel supplies to Tigray are being blocked by the federal government. They say fuel supplies are not being allowed to enter Tigray, and gradually people are seeing the impact of this decision. Humanitarian operations have been affected. Movement of items of daily use and medicines, etc., has been disrupted too. Tigray Education Bureau wrote a letter to the Ethiopian Education Ministry this week. Tigray Education Bureau says that students could not participate in 12th grade exam. They could not take the exam. Why? Because the regional authorities, local authorities could not transport the students to the exam centers. Why? Because there is shortage of fuel in Tigray. When there is shortage of fuel, transport fares always increase, and this is what is happening. Question, viewers, is this shortage of fuel deliberate? Is it just specific to Tigray, or other regions of Ethiopia are also facing similar problems in terms of availability of fuel? Well, yesterday, Joar shared a video from RC, the Dola, where long queues of vehicles were seen outside a gas station, a gasoline station, in line waiting to buy fuel. We have seen long queues of vehicles in Addis Ababa, in Oromia, in Amhara too in the past. So, yes, all the regions in Ethiopia have been facing fuel shortage. The fuel shortage in Tigray is not linked to broader fuel shortage in other parts of Ethiopia. Ethiopian federal government does not trust TPLF now. It does not trust Tigray military. It believes that Tigray military, TPLF, swiftly aligning themselves with their Eritrean counterparts. It means that if free supply of fuel to Tigray is allowed, the fuel could be stored. The authorities could store the fuel for using during the war. Obviously, Tigray People Liberation Front, Tigray military, Eritrean military, they will need fuel to activate their machines during the war. The federal government fears that if abundant supply of fuel to Tigray is allowed, this fuel could be stored, which could be used for during a war, firstly. Secondly, TPLF and Tigray military have not given any assurances to the federal government that they won't form an alliance with Eritrea. Rather, Debretsion 2 days ago on Martyrs' Day spoke and he said that Tigray, that he will establish relations with people-to-people contacts between Tigray and Eritrea, Tigray and Sudan, Tigray and Amhara, Tigray and Afar. So TPLF is not backing down. Rather, it is doubling down on its narrative of peace with Eritrea. If this alliance is for peace, it should be welcomed. Such engagement should be welcomed. But if the alliance turns into a military alliance to wage war on Ethiopia, then it could be a problem for the Ethiopian government. So I think that fuel supplies to Tigray will only improve if TPLF and Tigray military give assurances to the federal government that they are not going to wage war on Tigray, on federal government, that federal government can deploy its forces to the border, Tigray border, that border activities can be controlled and monitored by the federal government. I don't think that Tigray military TPLF will allow large-scale deployment of the Ethiopian National Defense Force on border with Eritrea. Tigray wants to control border with Eritrea. That is why ENDF entry there, federal police entry there, will expose the links between Tigray and Eritrea, between TPLF and PFDJ. Deployment of federal forces on the border, unlikely. So this is what federal government wants. It means federal government will continue keeping Tigray under this siege. You could see similar restrictions, not just fuel, any items, even food items, which could be stored for use in future. I think their entry in Tigray will also be restricted. You will see that. Because federal government now believes that TPLF is preparing for war, Tigray military preparing for war. What is needed is building of trust between the two sides. Only that will lead to improvement in humanitarian situation in Tigray. I am not supporting this suspension of fuel supplies to Tigray. I'm not supporting it. But I am speaking from both sides. I'm sharing with you federal government's position. I'm sharing with you Tigray government's position. Hence, there is lack of trust. That is why the supply of fuel, free supply of fuel and unhindered won't be allowed. Thanks for watching.